The stars are beautiful tonight as we're ready for the qualifiers for Quack's Marble Clash Season 3. Hello everyone, I'm your host Quack, you can see Rager next to me, and here are the qualifier groups that will be racing today in two of the four events that will be determining who goes to the main league and who does not. The first of those events will be the sprint. It was seen in Season 1, but not anything like this. This track is way longer, it's got separated lanes unlike the Season 1 version instead of one combined track, and that means that it will be determined by time rather than just racing against your other marbles. But we will be beginning with the friendly round. These are the four relegated teams, and off we go. It's very quick, this one, and the Waybreakers will be very far ahead. Everyone else not even able to catch up. The Pink Pallets will close in for second place at the very end there. The Rhapsody and Blue got off to a good start with their reserve chorus, but really were not able to hang on. It looks like even the Purple Flames managed to catch them in the very last moment there. Ooh, look at that. It was actually very close for third place. And of course, this is the friendly round. Normally there would be advancement, but because this is a friendly round and it will be the same in the qualifiers, there's no advancement. It's only based on time. And look at that chorus. The reserve of Rhapsody and Blue just barely held on with a 4:17 over Oxide. The captain of the Purple Flames just narrowly behind them. But now we move on to Heat 2 of the friendly round with all the auto-qualified teams, including our host, the Flying Saucers, in Lane 2. And they were ahead, but now it's the City Lights with Diode who will hold on for the win here. The Thruster, the captain of the Red Rockets, one of the medalists in this event back in Season 1, did a great job here. So is Needlepoint, who has now been demoted to reserve of the Ivy League. They did decently here, but only getting third place. But of course, because it is based on time, it's hard to say if the City Lights will be winning or not until we see the times come on screen. And it looks like it's hard to say with a 3.69. I wasn't quite looking at the times from the previous heat. We'll have to see when the results come on. But no, they will not. The Wavebreakers will close out with such a blazing fast time. It's not too surprising considering how dominant they were in their heat. They will be taking the win in this first friendly round event. The City Lights and Red Rockets rounding out the podium, so to speak. But of course, that is just the friendly round to give the teams a bit of extra practice who aren't in the qualifiers. But now, speaking of, we begin with the real qualifiers with Group A. The Googos, Pollen Puffs, Positrons, and Slush Rush fighting it out for the spots in the main league. And we are off. The Positrons and Pollen Puffs are going back and forth, but the Pollen Puffs will hold on for the win with Nectar. And that was a pretty interesting one. The Pollen Puffs and Positrons are the bottom two in the main league back in Season 1. Both of them evidently fighting to get back into the main league. Meanwhile, the Slush Rush not looking great here. A team with perfect attendance so far, but Hale really not able to stick the landing in this heat, starting behind and only finishing further behind, even the Googos managing to beat them. But a 3.76 will be the mark to beat, starting with Nectar from the Pollen Puffs. An experienced marble in this event, back from Season 1, but we'll see. Now as we move on to the Jelly Jammers, Wizard Lizards, Rose Rollers, and Loaves of Bread. Several more experienced teams here, and we are off as the Rose Rollers with a good lead for now, but here come the Jelly Jammers. Here come the Loaves of Bread with Bun to take the win here. And not an end-to-end victory, I was about to say that, but a late surge from the Loaves of Bread. They started out pretty much in the back with the Wizard Lizards, but what a surge there through the end of the course to take the win here. They will be getting a very dominant time. I wouldn't be shocked if that beats the Pollen Puffs time. And the Jelly Jammers didn't look too shabby either. They took a great result with Marmalade. And yes, P1 and P2 for those two marbles. That is very solid for them. Meanwhile, the Rose Rollers slotting into fourth. Very solid across the board here. But now the Stingrays, Terra Titans, Team Pixie, and Avocados for the final heat of Group A. And we're off as the Terra Titans who had the lead, but the Avocados take it. Now here come Team Pixie and the Stingrays. It really goes between everyone in this heat. Very close here, but it looks like I think Team Pixie might have had it. It was very close between them and the Stingrays. But look at how much those two caught up toward the late part of this course. We're seeing how this is a much more dynamic event than it was back in Season 1, where it was really one note. If you got off to a good start, you could hold on. Ooh, look at that Manta of the Stingrays. Just barely gets the win in this heat. But that will only be enough for fourth place. Team Pixie takes fifth. And it looks like the Avocados and Terra Titans not able to pull out the results they wanted. But of course, that is already one event down for the qualifiers. The Bun, the captain of the Loaves of Bread, gets it done. The Jelly Jammers and Pollen Puffs off to a great start trying to qualify. Meanwhile, the Stingrays, Team Pixie, and Avocados starting on the inside looking out. Meanwhile, the Jelly Jammers and the Avocados looking great considering they're teams that have never made it before. Meanwhile, the Rose Rollers not looking great, but of course, there's still plenty of time. But now we move on to Group B with the Snapping Turtles, Orange Fizz, Checkmates, and Balls of Water. The Snapping Turtles, notably, in this one of the teams with perfect tens, but they get off to a very poor start. It's the Balls of Water with the lead, and it will not change at all. The Balls of Water hold it end-to-end, but not by a very wide margin. I'm not sure if that was actually that great of a time. Meanwhile, the Orange Fizz holding on for second place on this very orange track. You'd think they'd be well-suited to it. Meanwhile, the Checkmates and Snapping Turtles, I didn't even notice, were actually very close for third place. But of course, considering it's only third place, it's hard to say it matters that much. But Bowser, the captain of the Snapping Turtles, will be getting it done here. A gold medalist in QMC, but a 3.94 is not great. Even a 3.84 winning the heat is not that stellar of a time. I wouldn't be shocked if that falls to someone in this heat. The Azure Diamonds, Flashbangs, King Crabs, and the brand new team 4K Pixels. And we are off. It's the Pixels and Flashbangs off to the lead. With Flashbangs taken now. Here come the Azure Diamonds, almost able to challenge them at the end. It's just not quite going to happen. The Flashbangs hold on to the lead and take the win this one. Meanwhile, what happened to the King Crabs? Spider, the reserve, a 2-time gold medalist in sprint events, at least if we're counting hurdles, but not great showing here at all, staying in the back this entire heat. And it just goes to show how the qualifiers are really sort of one and done. You have to be able to perform under pressure. You only get one chance because there's no advancement, no heats, and they will be going to the bottom of the table. Meanwhile, Blink from the Flashbangs with a 3.67 takes P1. But now we move on to Heat 3 with the Gigawatts, Stone Golems, Soaring Skies, and Chili Peppers. Several teams that have made it to the main league here, as well as the Gigawatts. And we're off. The Chili Peppers have the lead right now. The Stone Golems are closing in, but they just can't quite do it. But the Chili Peppers look very fast throughout that heat. I'm not sure if that'll be enough to take P1, but it might just be. The Gigawatts were really never in the question here. The Soaring Skies got off to a decent start, but we're not able to stick the landing, and the Stone Golems were able to capitalize on that to take second place here. But let's see when the graphic comes on. Will they be able to take P1? Yes, they will. Cayenne from the Chili Peppers takes the win here, and Android from the Stone Golems sneaks by to take P2, a top 2 for this heat. And we look at it now, the Flashbangs will have to settle for third place. The Azure Diamonds, 4K Pixels, and Soaring Skies also starting out with the top half results. The King Crabs getting dead last. Not what they want to see for a team for a champion of this league, but it looks like they will be starting on the outside looking in. But now that means we are already ready to move on to the next event. This is a very quick one, at least this first event was, but the next up we have Distance Drag, a brand new event to QMC. It's a bit different from how it works in other leagues. They will be running down this big long board with holes in it, and you can see those little markings there. The way it works is that 2 teams will be running at a time with 4 of their members, and it will be cumulative among each member as far as they can get down this board. And of course, if they go off the end there, they will get an extra 80 points. Well, not an extra 80 points, an extra 10 points added to the 70 of the board. But you'll see how it works as we're off. The Red Rockets and Flying Saucers back to the friendly round. It looks like the Red Rockets have 3 going decently far. That one Flying Saucers marble getting close to the 50, not quite able to reach it though. That'll be around a 47, I believe. But the Flying Saucers looking pretty decent here, starting off with a 141 to the Red Rockets 123, and consistency is really going to be key in this event. As now we move on to the second round, each team will get 2 rounds in both the friendly and the qualifiers, starting on each the top lane and the bottom lane once. And it looks like this time the Flying Saucers are trying to charge through. The Red Rockets now have one. Can they get to the end? Oh yes, they will. The Red Rockets get a finisher. The Flying Saucers also get a couple past that 40 though, and I'm not even sure if the Flying Saucers lose this. Yes, they will, but only by 6 points. The Red Rockets have that one finisher, but no one else getting past the 30. And because of that, the Flying Saucers will be starting off with the lead. More consistent rounds across the board, a 288 versus 267 for the Red Rockets. But now we go on to the Purple Flames and the Wave Breakers. Let's see how these 2 relegated teams do compared to the 2 auto-qualified teams. It is a bit different from last season, having the relegated teams and the auto-qualified teams in the same friendly. It looks like the Wave Breakers will be getting one to the end, but they can't say much else. They only have one getting past the 30, it looks like. Meanwhile, the Purple Flames look very poor here. A 102 is not how you want to do it. Meanwhile, the 167 will be very solid for the Wave Breakers, but of course really carried by that one finisher. They want to be a little more consistent, ideally, heading into this next round. And we're off. Their captain leads the way down and get past the 40. That's pretty decent. We'll see now the Purple Flames are coming down, as are the Wave Breakers' second marble. Ooh, that block there. The Purple Flames playing strategic there, preventing that one marble from getting down to the end. It looks like it will be able. The Purple Flames will be able to get one past the 50, and a 57 will actually tie this one. I didn't even notice the Wave Breakers had a couple past the 40, but of course the Wave Breakers had a much stronger round 1, and they will be taking P1 for now. A 301 total score is very solid. We'll see if anyone else can reach that 300 mark. Perhaps the City Lights and Ivy League will be the ones to do it. And we're off. It's the Ivy League with a much better first marble past the 30. Meanwhile, everyone else still making contact, dragging along the walls. And is anyone going to get past the 40? Well, I think that one City Lights marble made it to the 41, but that's about it. This is not a great run for either team. A 130 is decent for the City Lights. A 125 isn't too far behind, but really both teams are going to need a stellar second round in order to challenge the Wave Breakers here, who have so far looked very strong in this friendly round. I haven't even mentioned, but especially considering they're up against some of the best teams in the league in the auto-qualified section, they're doing great right now. It looks like the Ivy League, will they be able to get this one to the end? They have a lot of momentum, and they will. The Ivy League really pulling out, and when they needed it there, getting that one finisher down to the end is going to be pivotal for their score to try and get a better result here. A 165 is very, very solid. Meanwhile, a 103 is not how you want to do it. That one more hitting a 13 for the City Lights. Really struggling there, but only P2 for the Ivy League. A 290 is very solid, but it's still not enough to beat the Wave Breakers. But now the last run of the friendly round, or at least the last teams of the friendly round, with Rhapsody in Blue and the Pink Palettes, the bottom 2 in the B League last season. These 2 teams have a lot to prove, but at the very least, there's not really a ton of stakes in the friendly round. It's just as the name would suggest, a friendly round. Rhapsody in Blue going to destroy the Pink Pallets here. The Pink Pallets, what happened to them? Only getting a 95 here, less than 100 points in this round. No one getting past the 25. That is not how you want to do it. And we'll see if they can get a better formation heading into their second run, with Rhapsody Blue still not looking the greatest either, but at the very least, being able to move everyone past that 25 mark. And they have one marble going way farther down. Ooh, they'll taper off toward the 50 mark there. But the Pink Pallets also not looking too bad. They have another one past that 40, but the Rhapsody Blue actually looking pretty solid here with those two marbles past the 40, and a 144 is pretty solid. I'm not sure it's going to be enough to contend with those top two, but it might still be enough for a podium. And no, it will not. P4, only P4 for Rhapsody in Blue. Meanwhile, Pink Pallets getting 7th place, not how you want to do it. As we look at the results, the Wave Breakers go back-to-back in friendly round golds here. The Ivy League takes 2nd place, and the Flying Saucers finally able to get something done. As the home team, they will be taking 3rd place in this event. And of course, the Wave Breakers have a pretty solid lead in this friendly round. But now we look on to the qualifiers, the main event of this video, really, as now we see the teams lined up for Group A, the coaches there ready to guide their team, as we begin with Distance Drag, the Stingrays and the Wizard Lizards, a very new event to these teams, unlike the Sprint, but of course every challenge is a pretty new one in this qualifier. The Stingrays, though, have that one marble nearly past the 40. The Wizard Lizards, though, have two going pretty far. One of them gets just shy of the 50, and the Wizard Lizards, it's going to be hard to tell, actually, who wins this, and it actually will be the Stingrays just barely, a 136 to 132. Of course, the matchups, each team gets to run twice, and there's no advancement, so there's no real need to beat your opponent as much as just focus on your own score. But of course there is some defensive play involved. We know the Wizard Lizards looking strong once again in this one, getting one past the 50. Ooh, but they curl back. That is not how you want to play it. They will still get a very solid score for those two marbles, though. The Wizard Lizards looking pretty strong here, and a 148 to 117, a pretty solid difference. I think they'll definitely outweigh the difference from the first round. And yes, it will. The Wizard Lizards take P1 with a 280. A 253 isn't too shabby from the Stingrays either, but still not great. As now we move on to the Pollen Puffs and Terra Titans. The Terra Titans are one of those teams that really wants to make it back to the main league after winning the B League last time out, while the Pollen Puffs are on the opposite end, getting dead last in the main league. And right now they're looking very solid here, though. They have two getting just shy of the 50. They won't be able to get any farther than that, but two just shy of the 50 and two around the 30 will be a very solid first run of 154. While 115 from the Terra Titans isn't very great, considering their best marbles of 41 especially. They'll have to try much harder in the second round to get anything going, especially after their first event wasn't so great. But the Pollen Puffs are off to another great start here, getting one already past the 50 to the 60 even. Well, the Terra Titans, ooh, they have one. Can they keep it going down to the end? They're weaving side to side, and ooh, they'll just stop just short. I believe that's a 68, but the Pollen Puffs looked a little bit more consistent with their other marbles, both teams having one very far down. But yes, the Pollen Puffs have a better score of 159, and they'll be taking P1 here. A 313 is a monstrous total, and consistency on their side will be able to take the lead. Now, the Slush Rush and the Goo Ghosts, two teams here that have very different tales. The Slush Rush, perfect attendance. The Goo Ghosts, anything but. They haven't made it to the main league once, and after getting relegated back in Season 1, they're just happy to be here. But it looks like happy to be here is how I describe both of these runs. Both teams looking very poor here, a 114 to 97. The Slush Rush are better here, but not by a whole lot. Neither team getting anything going here. They're going to need a much stronger run here in Run 2. Now they swap sides and go again. It looks like Gugo's starting off here, but whoa, here goes the captain of Slush Rush. They will be getting very far down. Can they get to the end? I think they just did, yes. And meanwhile, their other marbles, ooh, I'm not sure. Not very consistent. No one getting past 32, but still a 163 is a very commendable run for the Slush Rush. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to counterweight their first run, though, and no, it will not. A 277 will still be enough for P3, but out of the 6 so far, that's not amazing, especially with the Gugo struggling so much. But now we move on to Team Pixie and the Avocados, as we're already halfway done with Group A. It looks like Team Pixie, and they both send one down very quickly, actually. And it looks like the Avocados have one still going. They'll only get around the 55 mark, though. And Team Pixie have one getting past the 40. Ooh, actually, they'll get about 5 extra spots. It's 5 extra points from that. Just moving around a little bit more. We're seeing how this event can be very different in that you can be very strategic and gain a lot of extra points just from keeping your momentum up. And actually, Team Pixie will be winning this one with consistency on their side. The Avocados at 3 marbles really struggling in the back there. Now let's see how they do in their second run. The Avocados sending their captain down first, and a 30 isn't too shabby. Let's see what their next marble does. Ooh, not too great. Well, Team Pixie still have a few. Everybody still has a few moving, actually. Team Pixie have one past the 50, 2 of them just shy of it. The Avocados also have 2 just shy of it, but Team Pixie looking great here. Everyone past the 20. Meanwhile, what happened to that one Avocados marble? I think that's their new marble, Foca, only getting 13, but a 172 is a monster point total for Team Pixie, and they'll be slotting into second place. The Avocados only able to take P6. But Team Pixie looking strong in these qualifiers, just as they did last season. Now the Loaves of Bread and Jelly Jammers here, a pair of teams that might make you a bit hungry here, but it looks like they're doing a decent job so far. The Jelly Jammers have a couple past the 30, but not much else. Will anyone get past there? I don't think so. Neither team able to put up good run. No, this is even worse than the Slush Rush and Googos first run. A 107 to 96 is not how you want to do it from either team. Now let's see if they can put something better together in this next one. These were the top two in the last event in the Group A, and it looks like the Jelly Jammers off to a slightly better start, maybe, if they can keep going. Oh, yes, they have a couple going farther now. The Loaves of Bread just barely juke past that Jelly Jammers defender, and yes, they'll be able to get one. Oh, but they curl back a few spots. Well, they're still dancing around, but they'll finally settle just past the 40, well, just a few points past the 40. A 48 will be their best score, but a 135 to 129 isn't stellar from either team. Not too shabby from the Loaves of Bread, but it's P8 and P9 actually not great. Out of the 10 runs so far, only a 242, the best of this heat. As now we move on to the Rose Rollers and the Positrons here, the last run for Group A, or at least the last heat for Group A. And the Positrons are off to a much better start here, one of them getting past the 50. Of course, the Positrons, actually both of these teams are known for being great at team events, but at least notably better than they are at individual events, and neither team able to really put anything together here, though. They have a couple of runs past the 40, but a 149 to 131 is pretty solid for both teams, but both of them could be a challenger if they get a really great run in this next one. Let's see how these teams do. Both of these teams really want to make it back to the main league, especially the Rose Rollers, coming off a 7th place overall. It looks like they will be getting one to the end. Yes, they will. The Positrons now have one trying to get past there. I don't think they'll be able to get past the 50. The Rose Rollers have one trying, but they'll curl way back. They're going very far back and forth, and it looks like a pretty solid run across the board, especially for the Rose Rollers. Yes, a 175 is another absolutely monstrous single run with that 48 and the 80. And we'll look at it now. It is only enough for P3, though. 306, very solid for them. Meanwhile, the Positrons take a top half finish with P6. There are the final results. The Pollen Puffs take their second medal in a row with first place here. The Team Pixie getting second, and the Rose Rollers round out the top three. Meanwhile, the Wizard Lizards, Slush Rush, and Positrons also getting top half finishes here. But we can see the standings now. The Pollen Puffs already have a monster lead here of 25. Team Pixie, the Loaves of Bread looking solid. The Rose Rollers, Jelly Jammers, and Stingrays currently on the inside looking out. Meanwhile, teams like the Slush Rush not looking good, nor the Terra Titans. As now we move on to Group B. We're already halfway done with Group A. Now it's time to see the same for Group B with the Snapping Turtles and Gigawatts. Of course, with so many runs in this event, it can seem like it's flying by, but there's so much to do here. It looks like the Snapping Turtles off to a great start with their captain, though. I mean, the Gigawatts, their captain, is also doing a good job and getting a bit of a boost from the Snapping Turtles there, but the Snapping Turtles actually having a great run here, getting two just shy of the 50. And yes, a 163 is very solid, very consistent for their team. Everyone getting at least to the 30. But now we'll see if they can keep that momentum up as they head into run two. The Snapping Turtles and Gigawatts, very opposite teams here. The Snapping Turtles, one of the favorites to qualify, considering they've been so perfect so far. But the Gigawatts have one going way far down to the end. I think they've already got a finisher. Yes, they will. Well, no one else getting past the 33, it looks like. And not a great run for the Snapping Turtles. The Gigawatts, though, able to put something together. And considering both of these teams are sort of alternating in which one had a strong run, neither one is going to get an absolutely amazing run. But the Gigawatts will be starting off with P1 with a 294, which is not something you get to say very often, especially in the qualifiers, but they've been putting up stellar performances so far. But now we move on to the Soaring Skies and the 4K Pixels, the new team. So on to a decent start with Sprint, trying to improve upon that here, but no one able to get past the 30, it looks like, or the 31, and a very defensive game here will stifle both teams. A 111 to 97 is a pretty weak round all across the board. Now let's see if they can do better with swapping lanes. Trying to improve upon it here. It looks like one of them getting past the 30, a couple of them getting past the 30, one on each team, and still no one getting past there, though, and I think this is going to be another weak round. Both of these teams getting a very poor result here, a 118 to 117, almost a tie even, but still nothing to show for it for either team here. This will not be good for either one. P3 and P4 out of the 4 runs so far, and a 215 is not going to be good for the Soaring Skies. But now we move on to the Stone Golems and Chili Peppers, the top two in the last event in Group B. We'll see how these two teams do. The Stone Golems sending their first marble down first, and neither team able to get past the 30 with their captains, or at least their first marble going down. Well, it looks like the Stone Golems have one trying to get past the 50. They won't be able to succeed, and the Stone Golems have 3 actually going right next to each other. But a 128 to 116 isn't the worst run we've seen between both teams, but not great for either one. Let's see if they can improve upon it here. Both of these teams could stake their claim in the main league with a great result here, and they are off. The Stone Golems have one going past the 50, past the 60. They will. Ooh, can they get to the end? We have to see the other marbles, but it looks like the Stone Golems, I think they did get a fisher. Yes, they will. An 80 there. They got it off screen, but a 169 is a very solid single run for the Stone Golems. That'll probably be enough to take P1. Yes, it will. A 297 will just barely take P1. The Chili Peppers slot all the way down in 5th, though, as now we move on to the Flashbangs and the Azure Diamonds, both teams that did very solid in the first event. And the Azure Diamonds trying to qualify for the first time, while the Flashbangs just trying to make it back to the main league after getting top half overall last season. The Azure Diamonds, that one marble still able to go, and they will be getting a finisher there, their second marble, dancing around near the 50, and they will be settling just shy of it. But the Flashbangs looking a bit more consistent. 174 is a very solid single run for the Azure Diamonds, and the Flashbangs, 131 isn't too shabby for them either, but of course they'll want something a bit stronger as we head into run 2. And we are off. The Azure Diamonds looking pretty solid with their first marble, only getting just past the 30, though. Same for the Flashbangs. Will anyone be able to get past that 40 mark? Oh, it doesn't look like it. Neither team will be getting a good run here. It looks like a 119 to 117. Another run that's almost completely tied, and I don't think either team will be able to challenge for P1 here. Both of these teams, especially the Azure Diamonds, really had potential with their first run, but P3 is all they have to show for it. But now we're getting pretty late into this event with the Checkmates and Balls of Water now. Both of these teams have a lot to prove, but the Balls of Water have never qualified before. The Checkmates have qualified, but they've gotten bottom 4 in both seasons. Meanwhile, the Balls of Water have 2 still going. One of them getting close to the end. The Checkmates do as well. Both of them will get a finisher, and this will be their first, I think, the first round we've seen with both teams getting a finisher, or any round with getting 2 finishers, really. And a 181 to 166 is, I think, the best combined round we've ever seen from both teams. Both of these teams could be challenging for a win here now. The Balls of Water and Checkmates, as they swap again. If they can get a good run going here, then we could see a team go P1 with a very solid point total. Right now, the Checkmates not looking good. The Balls of Water not able to get anybody past 32. And both of these teams really squandering the potential here. A 111 to 102. What could have been an absolutely stellar combined run between their 2 runs will only turn out to be P3 for the Balls of Water. Still very solid, but not what could have been with a 181 in their first round. Now we move on to the final round of this event, the King Crabs and the Orange Fizz, so 2 very different teams, but the King Crabs off to a weaker start, surprisingly. The Orange Fizz looking pretty solid so far. The King Crabs have 2 dancing around near the 50, and they will settle. Oh, that one marble's still dancing around. They'll finally settle there. It's still not a great run for either team. Actually, a 145 to 143 is still very solid. I stand corrected. Everybody getting past the 20 at the very minimum. As now we move on to the second round, both of these teams could be contending for a top-notch spot if they can get a really great run here. Andrew off, the King Crab's captain, will be settling just shy of the 30. Their second marble does as well. There's a huge defensive wall at this point, and no one will be able to get past 35. I don't think anyone will be challenging for the win here. A 119 to 110 is another one of those rounds where it's starting to get very defensive. These teams really like to mess with each other's runs, and P7 and P8 is not going to be great considering both teams had a 140-plus score in the first round. But of course, that means the Stone Golems will be holding on for the win here. The Gigawatts managing to take second, and the Balls of Water taking third place. The Azure Diamonds taking 4th. All of those last 3 teams have never made it to the main league before, and all of them right now are in the provisional qualification zone. The Stone Golems and Chili Peppers also up there. We know the Flashbangs on the bubble above the Snapping Turtles of all teams. We know the King Crabs somehow all the way down in last place in this group. It is not looking good for them, but of course, anything could still change with 2 events left to go. We'll see as we head into the 2 newer events with funnel duels and archery. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.